Tell me if you've heard this one before. The scene is tense. The protagonist is battling someone with his awesome superpowers until suddenly, he gets tired and he's no match for the villain anymore. It may not seem familiar at first, and that's because it's a rather rare trope aside from video games, but it's making a surge, so let's talk about it. My oldest example is the Hulk, who switches to Bruce Banner when his adrenaline runs out. Now, what's the problem with any of this? Well, let's actually compare it to video games. In Sonic 2, Super Sonic uses 1 ring per second. In most RPGs, you need to watch out for your mana stat, as it fuels the majority of your abilities. What makes this different from An Boon Choi is the constant measure. With Super Sonic, you know exactly when your stamina will end and what you can do about it. But with the Calamity powers, there's no mana bar, giving the writers credence to end the powers whenever they need more attention, or to revitalize the powers whenever they need a climax. Hand of the author is what you call the audience feeling the creator nudge the story in a certain direction. For example, Season 10 Fairly OddParents. Now Timmy is a lot more powerful than the typical protagonist, so what are his limits in Season 1? Primarily, the rules. You can't hurt people, you can't interfere with love, you can't counterfeit. The writers made an insane effort to put these few rules in Timmy's way repeatedly, at least compared to Season 10, where they let humans like Crocker casually chat with fairies. So what do they do without the rules? Make Cosmo and Wanda lose their wands whenever it creates tension. So why do writers choose stamina as their limit? One reason is that if your powers exhaust you, you'll use them only when necessary. Keeping the powers infrequent allows for a lot of ambiguity, which allows you to display unestablished abilities without going against anything specific you've implied previously. Consider Percy from Epithet. Her ability to stop bullets mid-air didn't have any real foreshadowing, but we know so little of her abilities it doesn't feel jarring. How could this trope be improved to give a more concrete sense of tension? Consider Mira, who is in my opinion the definitive version of this. One major difference is that her power is limited by fragility, not energy. When she's hit by Beefton, the audience understands that she's losing strength. Another advantage is being the villain, as ambiguous power is straight up better in this scenario. Never seeing the extent of the protagonist's power can often feel like an excuse for Deus Ex Machinas, but never seeing the villain's true power is dramatic in all the right ways. What if the wielder isn't evil, but the powers themselves are? The obvious example is the One Ring, but I'll focus on one of my favorite heroes, the Blue Beetle. This guy is basically Mega Man taming the symbiote. He has an evil bug embedded into him, and he can use its power if they cooperate. The more control he surrenders to the bug, the more dangerous he becomes, to his enemies and friends alike. Lastly, everything I've said so far assumes that your hero being physically equal to your villain is a good thing, when it rarely is. If you can make brute force work, don't hesitate, but it's rarely a more satisfying climax than a battle scheme only your protagonist could have thought up. Consider John Constantine, whose friend had his daughter stolen by a demon. And how does John respond? By concentrating all their familial love into an attack pure enough to kill it. So, stamina breaks my immersion, but does it actually matter? Honestly, not really. I love all of the shows I brought up here. It only bothers me because I feel like there are so many easy fixes. When the writer wants Glimmer to stop being strong, just, hit her with something. Hard enough that she's adequately disoriented. This can also get distracting if you abuse it, but for me it just takes longer. And when you get down to it, I'd take the Worf effect 100 times before I'd give Superman a narrative off switch.